Jordan Phillips is back in Buffalo again. For the fourth time, the big man returns to the Bills' defensive line room, and it's a move that caught some fans off guard. But once you take a step back and look at the situation, it starts to make a whole lot more sense, especially when you start connecting the dots on what's really going on with the depth chart, the rookies, and the state of the Bills' defensive interior. At first glance, it looked like just another veteran reunion, but this one's got layers. It's not just about familiarity or vibes. This is about trying to bring stability to a position group that suddenly feels like it's walking on a tightrope heading into the season. The return of Phillips isn't some nostalgic, feel-good gesture. It's a calculated insurance policy on a defense that can't afford to take chances in the trenches. The Bills know they've got big problems if that interior rotation doesn't hold up. And let's be real, the depth behind Daquan Jones and Ed Oliver is as raw as it gets. Now let's be clear, the top of the depth chart is fine. Daquan is still a reliable presence when healthy, and Ed Oliver is coming off a strong campaign. But after that, it gets sketchy fast. You've got two rookies, TJ Sanders and Deone Walker, who flash potential, especially in the preseason. But neither has played a single regular season snap in the NFL. And behind them is Dwayne Carter, entering just his second season, who's had a rocky development arc. Whether it was last year or this preseason, Carter continues to look like a player who just doesn't belong in a regular rotation right now. The tape doesn't lie, and the coaching staff knows it. To put it in perspective, those three depth pieces, Walker, Sanders, and Carter, have a combined total of 0 NFL snaps, except for Carter, who's accounted for all of them, and it's only a little over 300 plays. That's not enough experience when you're staring down the Baltimore Ravens in Week 1, a team that completely exposed Buffalo's run defense the last time they met. You're going into that game knowing Lamar Jackson and that ground attack can absolutely punish a soft interior, especially one led by rookies and second-year players who are still trying to figure out the pro game. Even if Ed Oliver logs around 70% of the defensive snaps and Daquan Jones plays somewhere around 55%, that still leaves a massive amount of game time where you're relying on extremely unproven talent to hold the line, literally. When you add all of this up, it's no wonder the Bills looked at Jordan Phillips and said, yeah, we could use a little more muscle and experience in this room. And let's talk about what Phillips actually brings. He's not the every-down player he once tried to be, and he's battled injuries in recent years. But as part of a rotation, he's more than capable of giving you 20 to 30 high-energy snaps per game. He brings familiarity, toughness, and a presence that can still disrupt plays in both phases. Plus, he brings the energy. You know how it goes, waving his arms, hyping up the crowd, talking trash to opposing linemen. Big Phil knows how to set a tone. Then there's the issue of Larry Ogunjobi, suspended for the first 6 weeks of the season and, frankly, not exactly lighting it up before the suspension hit. During camp and preseason, Ogunjobi didn't show much to suggest he's going to be a meaningful contributor. He played deep into the third preseason game, which usually says a lot about where you stand on the depth chart. Against the Buccaneers' third-string offensive line, he looked flat. There was no urgency, no real flashes of power or quickness, just a very average performance. And if you're already unsure about what you're getting from him, and now you have to wait until Week 7 just to see if he's even in shape, that's not the kind of gamble you want to take when the season's about to start. The other interesting twist here is the nature of Phillips' signing. This isn't a practice squad deal. He's not getting stashed and elevated later. This is a direct-to-active roster move, which means someone's on the chopping block, and all signs point to Dwayne Carter. It's not ideal. He was a third-round pick just a year ago, and cutting ties this early doesn't look good. But the reality is his development has stalled. He hasn't taken the leap that the team hoped for, and now he's being squeezed out of a room that can't afford to carry passengers. Could the Bills try to trade him? Maybe, but don't expect much of a return. Best case scenario is probably a swap of late-round picks, something like Carter and a 7th for a 6th, or maybe even Carter and a 7th for a 5th if they find the right buyer. There might be a team out there that had a high day 3 grade on him during the draft process and is willing to take a flyer. But it won't be a blockbuster. It'll be more about cutting losses and opening a roster spot for a guy who can help now. Now here's where it gets really fascinating. Jordan Phillips himself has said he's not interested in playing for any team other than the Bills. He made that clear. It's Buffalo or nothing. That kind of statement basically eliminates his leverage completely. The Bills could have placed him on the practice squad and elevated him week to week while evaluating what the young guys bring early in the season. That would have been a smart play. You see how the rookies handle real NFL snaps, and you've got Phillips in your back pocket if it goes south. But Buffalo didn't wait. They're bringing him in immediately, which says everything you need to know about their comfort level with the young depth. They've watched the tape. They've seen the reps and are not sold. Whether it's Ogunjobi's mediocre play, Carter's stalled growth, or the rawness of Sanders and Walker, they don't like what they're seeing. So they bring back a familiar face who knows the system, knows the expectations, and can plug right in with minimal ramp-up. It's a security blanket, but a needed one. The big question now is, what happens next? This move sets off a chain reaction. Someone's getting cut. Will Carter be outright released? Will he get traded? Or could someone else get moved to injured reserve post cuts to make room for Phillips on the 53? It's roster gymnastics season, and there's a lot in play. With the roster deadline looming and several spots still up in the air, you can expect some creative moves to start dropping fast. And while Jordan Phillips grabs the headline, the Bills quietly began the trimming process. They've already cut players like Zay Alexander, Nelson Caesar, Garnett Hollis, and a few others. No major surprises so far. All fringe names who are likely never going to make the final roster. But there are still 31 players that need to go before Tuesday's 4 o'clock deadline. And you can be sure some of those decisions will be influenced by how they plan to integrate Phillips. Now, if you're wondering how the young guys looked in the preseason finale against the Buccaneers, let's dive into that. The All-22 film gave us a much better view of who actually stood out and who still has a long way to go. Cole Bishop, the rookie safety, also had a bounce-back moment. After catching a lot of heat for his performance against the Bears, Bishop responded well against Tampa in a limited role. He played just 12 snaps, but in those 12 snaps, he made his presence known. A couple of nice tackles, including one as a high safety triggering downhill and another filling a run gap aggressively. But the highlight was a third down coverage rep where he rotated into a robber roll, jumped a slant, and knocked the ball loose at the catch point. It was textbook execution, fast, physical, confident. Exactly what you want to see from a young safety in a tight competition. And the cornerback situation? That might be the biggest mystery of all heading into the final cutdown. With Tre'Davious White's status still unclear and Max Melton nursing a sprained LCL, the Bills rolled out an interesting rotation. Dane Jackson and Dorian Strong started the game, but it was Strong who came out after just 16 snaps. Jackson played 37. Then Jamarcus Ingram came in to replace Strong. That sequence could mean a lot of things. Maybe Jackson's being prepped as the Week 1 starter. Maybe Strong is ahead of Ingram on the depth chart. Or maybe, just maybe, the Bills still have hope that White will be ready for Week 1, and they're giving Jackson as many live reps as possible just in case. You can spin the snap counts in a bunch of different directions, but the bottom line is this: nothing's been settled. Not yet. And right behind that drama is the harsh reality that one defensive back might have just played his way off the team. Daquan Hardy had a rough outing. Real rough. 9 catches allowed, 2 touchdowns surrendered, a brutal missed tackle. It just kept getting worse. He looked lost against motion and misdirection and couldn't find the ball in coverage. Add that to the fact he already lost the coach's trust last year as a returner, and you have to wonder if this was his last audition. While the defensive storylines have grabbed most of the headlines, the offensive side of the ball brought its own set of revelations in the preseason finale. It wasn't just about making splash plays or highlight reel moments. This game was about roster survival, a final edition. And for a handful of offensive players, it was their last, best shot to convince the coaching staff they belong. Let's start with Tyrell Shavers, who made noise in this game and continues to generate buzz. His touchdown catch was the kind of play that gets everyone talking. A well-executed scramble drill, a toe tap on the sideline, and a strong finish in the end zone. Everything about it screamed NFL receiver. He also made another impressive reception down the sideline earlier in the game, tracking the ball and showing body control. but it wasn't all perfect. He dropped a catchable ball on the very first defensive snap. A low throw, yes, but one that hit his hands and should have been secured. Maybe he was bracing for contact. Maybe the nerves were high. But when you're fighting for a back-end roster spot, every single target matters. That drop won't be forgotten. Still, what probably helped his stock more than anything was his work on special teams. It's easy to fall in love with a receiver who makes contested catches, but if you're not in the top 4 or 5 on the depth chart, your value has to come from elsewhere. And Shavers showed up. He got 5 snaps on the kick return unit and 5 more on kick coverage. On a couple of those reps, he was actually the lead blocker on returns, doing the dirty work to open lanes. And on coverage, even though Tampa broke a few long runs, Shavers showed great backside pursuit and hustle. That kind of effort stands out on film. Coaches love it. He may not have secured a roster spot yet, but he's making it very hard to send him home. Another name that deserves more recognition is Christian Wilkerson. He's flown under the radar for much of camp and preseason, but every time he's on the field, he delivers something steady. Against Tampa, he led the team with 40 receiving yards on 5 catches. Nothing flashy, just consistent production. But what stood out the most was his blocking. In the run game, he plays with real effort and discipline. He takes pride in it, you can tell. And for a depth receiver trying to make a roster built around physicality, that might be the difference between a practice squad slot and a real role. When you're not the guy getting the ball, are you still willing to be the guy making someone else's job easier? Wilkerson says yes with how he plays. Whether the backside seal, a dig-out block, or just sticking with a corner to help spring a run, he's checking boxes that don't show up in the box score, but absolutely matter to coaches. On the offensive line, the battle for the last couple of interior spots is still alive. Dan Feeney and Kendrick Green both got extended looks, and this one might come down to versatility and trust. Feeney, the veteran, has played more center snaps this preseason. He's got experience, grit, and that classic lineman attitude. But Kendrick Green might have the edge. He's been with the team longer, knows the system better, and has taken snaps at both guard and center. Against Tampa, Green gave up a sack, but otherwise looked clean. He moves well, plays under control, and has the athleticism to function in the zone-heavy run schemes Buffalo leans on. He's not going to wow anyone, but when you're filling in due to injury or rotating during games, consistency is gold. And with Cedric Van Prangranger potentially starting the season on the physically unable to perform list, someone's going to have to step in early. That might be Green's ticket, so buckle up. The next 36 hours are going to be busy. Surprise cuts, unexpected trades, roster gymnastics, practice squad maneuvering. It's all on the table. The Bills are tweaking the final pieces of their 2025 roster, and every detail matters. Every rep in the preseason, every flash on special teams, every missed tackle or dropped pass. It all gets weighed now, and once the dust settles, we'll know who made the cut, who's still waiting for a call, and who's going to war with this team in Week 1. Before we dive back in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest Buffalo Bills updates straight to your screen. And hey, don't hold back. Let us know your thoughts on today's news down in the comments. Whispers have begun to circulate throughout the NFL community regarding a potential shakeup within the Buffalo Bills organization, a development that has the sports world buzzing with speculation. According to insider murmurs, head coach Sean McDermott has reportedly delivered a blunt message regarding a key player on the team, signaling that the athlete in question will no longer be part of the Bills' future plans. While the team has not issued an official statement confirming these reports, sources close to the situation suggest that tensions between McDermott and the player have reached a point of irreconcilable differences. This revelation has ignited heated debates among fans and analysts alike, as the unnamed player has been considered a vital component of the team's strategy and success over recent seasons. The sudden nature of this news has only fueled the speculation, with observers questioning whether this decision is purely performance-based or if deeper interpersonal conflict have influenced McDermott's stance. Adding to the intrigue, social media has become a fertile ground for swirling rumors, with various accounts offering different takes on the potential fallout and future trajectory of both the player and the team. Despite the lack of official confirmation, The mere hint of such a dramatic shift within the Bills roster has set the stage for what could be one of the most talked-about storylines of the season, leaving fans anxiously waiting for clarity and official responses from the organization. The ramifications of McDermott's alleged decision to part ways with a prominent player extend far beyond the immediate roster implications, touching on the very culture and leadership philosophy that the Bills have cultivated over recent years. Analysts speculate that such a bold move may reflect a deeper strategic recalibration, aimed at redefining the team's identity and sending a message to both current and future players about accountability, discipline, and performance standards. The reported friction between McDermott and the player has sparked intense conversation regarding leadership dynamics in high-stakes professional sports environments, with insiders hinting that this situation could serve as a case study for how elite coaches manage challenging personalities within their squads. Some commentators argue that removing a player of considerable talent, if true, could disrupt team chemistry in the short term, but potentially pave the way for a more unified and resilient roster over time. Others, however, caution that alienating key contributors might backfire, eroding trust and morale if not carefully managed, and leaving fans frustrated with decisions that appear driven by ego or personal differences rather than strategic necessity. This rumor has also sparked a flurry of comparisons to previous high-profile departures in NFL history, with pundits drawing parallels and exploring potential scenarios for how the team might fill the void left by the player. The dialogue surrounding this development underscores the complex interplay between leadership, performance, and personality, demonstrating that even in professional sports, the human element can be just as consequential as tactical expertise in determining outcomes on and off the field. As the story continues to gain traction, speculation about the player's next destination has become a topic of fervent discussion among NFL enthusiasts, sports journalists, and betting analysts. Rumors are already swirling about potential trades or free agent opportunities, with some insiders suggesting that multiple teams may be quietly preparing bids to acquire a talent who, despite the alleged conflict, remains highly coveted in the league. The uncertainty surrounding the player's future has sparked an avalanche of theories, from predictions of immediate transfer to rival franchises to more complex scenarios involving multi-team negotiations, draft considerations, or even strategic long-term planning that could reshape the competitive landscape. Fans, of course, have been especially vocal, with online forums and social media threads overflowing with heated debates about whether the reported split is justified, whether McDermott's decision is strategically sound, and how such a move might influence the team's chances in the playoffs. Fantasy football players have also weighed in, speculating on the statistical implications and the impact on individual performance metrics for the upcoming season. Meanwhile, former players and commentators have offered their own perspectives, dissecting the interpersonal and professional dynamics that often go unseen by the public, but which can dramatically shape the trajectory of careers and franchises alike. In this climate of rumor and anticipation, every cryptic statement or subtle social media post from either McDermott or the player is dissected for clues, creating a high-stakes environment where speculation thrives, narratives collide, and the NFL offseason drama takes center stage as one of the most talked-about unfolding stories in professional sports today. Amid the swirling conjecture, the Buffalo Bills organization itself has remained conspicuously quiet, fueling the rumor mill and leaving analysts to parse every press conference, interview, and report for potential hints of confirmation or denial. Insiders suggest that the team's decision to withhold a formal statement may be a calculated tactic, aimed at managing public perception and controlling the narrative until more concrete details emerge. This silence, however, has only intensified speculation, with fans and commentators alike dissecting subtle nuances in interviews, player interactions, and even social media activity for potential indicators of the underlying truth. The lack of official clarification has allowed multiple theories to proliferate, ranging from the idea of a purely strategic roster realignment to more personal conflicts that may have escalated behind closed doors. Moreover, the situation raises questions about the broader impact on team morale and cohesion, as players and staff navigate uncertainty regarding leadership decisions and the stability of their professional environment. Rumors about internal disagreements, management style, and the players' perceived attitude or commitment have been widely circulated, creating a complex tapestry of conjecture that underscores the challenges inherent in elite sports organizations. This ambiguity, combined with the high-profile nature of the individuals involved, has turned what might have been a routine personnel decision into a story with national attention, captivating not only the team's loyal fan base, but also sports media outlets eager to break news and analyze implications for the season ahead. That's a wrap for now. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay on top of all things Buffalo Bills, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what you think in the comments. See you in the next update.